Hello, everybody. Bill Platt here, and I just wanted to have a discussion with you today about the different types of products we can create that we can publish within our Create Space account. And this comic here from BC uh, really gets down to the point of the message I want to share with you today. So they say a bird in the hand is worth more than is worth two in the bush, and that's an old wives' tale or whatever, moral of a story or something that it's better to have something that you can hold on to than something that maybe you could get your hands on. So that's that has application to what we do within the journal publishing. So here's how I kind of look at that. A lot of people, we actually did put out training that shows you how to do spiral books. Um, but when you're doing spiral books, you're opening up a whole new can of worms. So if you're selling spiral books, there's only three. Well, there's more than that, but three primary ways in which we can sell those spiral books. And one is from our own website, two is from Etsy, and three, Amazon and CreateSpace doesn't actually offer us an option to sell spiral books unless we sign up as an Amazon merchant. If we sign up as an Amazon merchant, then there are fees associated with that account. So instead of being able to publish print on demand with Amazon, we have to purchase a Amazon account and then sell our books from Amazon that way. Now they've got two different levels of accounts. One is a free account, then you pay money according to per transaction. And the second is $40 a month and transaction fees. And you do get more benefits with the $40 a month Amazon merch account than what you do with the free account. So here's the deal with the spiral bound books. If you sell your book on Amazon through an Amazon merch account, then you have to supply your own ISBN number, which you would go to myidentifiers.org and purchase from Bowker ISBNs that you can use with your book. Now, that's not an inexpensive way to go. Bowker is actually quite expensive, especially if you're buying in low volume. So, as I recall, and don't quote me on these numbers, but it gets down to kind of the heart of where we're going here. If I remember right, it's $195 for one ISBN number. And then if you get 10 ISBN numbers, it's something like $395. And then, or $495. And then if you get 100 ISBNs, it's like $2,000. But anyway, the price of each ISBN gets lower as you purchase more volume. But the kind of volume that we need to put if we're going to go through, and this is what I've always found, if I go through and I need to buy an ISBN number for one of my books, I am going to buy a package of 10. But even at 10, I'm paying roughly $5 per ISBN number. For a book, I don't even know if it's going to sell or not, okay? So if you want to get your spiral-bound books, spiral-bound journals on Amazon, you must have an Amazon merch account, and you must provide your own ISBN number. And both of them, if you're making money on those books, neither of those costs are too much. They're very fair costs. However, if on the other hand you are not yet making money with your spiral bound books and you don't know that you will make money. It's a lot of money to invest in a test, a lot of money to invest to see if you can actually make money with it. Now, when you go to Etsy, you can often sell without the ISBN number on Etsy because Etsy is basically handmade goods. But even with handmade goods, you can do print on demand and have the items shipped to the person's house directly, and that's a-okay. And so you can do spiral bounds. You can sell spiral bounds on Etsy without the ISBN and without the merch fees. Now, Etsy does have its own set of costs, and I don't know what the current costs are, to be honest with you. They recently changed it within just the last couple months. So um, there's always been per transaction fees, and I think there's a minimum monthly cost now as well, something like $4 or $5. But don't quote me on that, okay? Because I don't post a lot of products on Etsy myself. Di usually does that, and I didn't ask her before I started shooting this video. So then the third option is to sell it from your own website. Now, when you're selling something from your own website, you don't need to have an ISBN number because you are the seller. You don't need access to the ISBN number. So here's what the ISBN number does for you, for those of you who do not know. An ISBN number is the International Serial Book Number, and what that relates to is every version. Now, you can have one book with 3 or 4 different formats, so you can go with paperback and journal and hardback. So let's just do the 3 for simplicity's sake. So we got the softback, which is perfect bound, then we got spiral bound, then we have a hardback version of the same book. So each of those would require, even though it's the same book, each of them will require a different ISBN number. And if you have CreateSpace publish your book, that's one ISBN number. And if you have Ingram publish your book, that's another ISBN number, because the ISBN ties down not only to the format of the book you're working with, whether it's paperback, spiral, or hardback, but also ties back to the printer. So if you have a spiral bound that you're selling on Amazon, that's one ISBN number. If you have a perfect bound that you're selling on Amazon through CreateSpace, that's a different ISBN number. And what that ISBN number does is it tells bookstores, if you want to purchase a copy of this book, you need to go to this wholesale agent to purchase a copy of that book, or purchase multiple copies of that book, because this is the company that's going to sell it to you at wholesale, plus they're going to take care of the printing, and they're going to make sure that it's printed in the format you want to buy it. Okay? So that's what the ISBN number does. If you're selling from your own website, you don't need the ISBN number because you're not looking to get into local bookstores, or you're not looking to get onto other online bookstores. But if you do the a different format than what people now, CreateSpace, if you're doing perfect bound, CreateSpace will let you use one of their ISBN numbers, and they're buying in bulk. They're probably buying 10,000 or 100,000 ISBNs at a time at a penny a piece. So for them, it's no big deal that they're giving you an ISBN number for free. But if you're selling it as a spiral bound book, if you're going to sell on Amazon, you need that ISBN number. And then you can sell from Etsy, and then you can sell from your own website. But if you're not worried about other bookstores getting access to your book so they can sell it, then you don't need an ISBN number on your book. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So, what I run into with a lot of people, they say, well, I've got a great book design, but I only want to sell that book in hardback format. Well, I can understand that. There are certain books that I would like to publish. Most of the books that I would like to publish in hardback format are going to be those that are what they call, there's a specific word for it, but it's like a tabletop book. I don't think that's the right terminology. Basically, you know, sort of like a yearbook. So a yearbook has a kind of a hardcover on it, and then it's a nice enough book to put on the end table, more as decoration, but you can come along and you can use that decoration to look at pictures, okay? So there's a specific name for it, and I'm sure I'm using the wrong terminology for it, and I apologize, okay? But a lot of people will say, well, I want to do only that format. I don't want to do paperback. And here's another thing that comes up quite often, like with when we're doing coloring books, the perfect bound on CreateSpace is just fine in most cases, but then they notice a few people inside of Amazon complain at the paper quality of the books available through CreateSpace. Well, we have two paper choices in CreateSpace. We can do a white paper, that's a 60-pound paper, and then we can do a cream colored paper. And honestly, I don't think that cream is a heavier weight paper, but some people seem to suggest that maybe it is. And so what happens there is people want to publish in these with different paper formats because a few people on Amazon complain that there's a bleed through with this particular paper quality. Well, 90% of the books ever published are published in the same paper quality that CreateSpace is using to print books. So for the most part, it's not a really big deal. However, if you want a heavier paper, then you have to use a different printer. And if you want to do a heavier paper for your coloring book, you are not going to be able to use CreateSpace. You will have to use a third-party printer. The problem with that is most third-party printers do not do print on demand. They require you to buy 500 or 1,000 copies of your book, and then you keep it in stock, you keep it in inventory, and then you ship it to the customers as you sell it. And that's fine with Amazon Fulfillment by Merchant. That's fine, but I am a big opponent of the idea that we should buy 1,000 copies of our book and store it in our garage and deliver it to the consumer unless we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we're going to be able to sell that inventory. So, like with the godfather or the godmother of coloring books, Johanna Basford, her very first one was a Secret Garden and Inky Treasure Hunt was her first book. And when it first came out with 60-pound paper, and nobody, a few people might have complained, and Johanna Basford actually wanted to put on a little bit better quality paper. But she sold that book for 2 years before she switched printers. So when she switched over to the heavier paper, she had to change how she was buying that book. So now she had to buy 10,000 or 100,000 copies at a time, and her publisher had to store those books and then to ship them out to people when they got purchased. And that's fine, but 100,000 books, you're dropping $1 million in inventory that you're going to hold until you can sell it. Now with Johanna Basford and The Secret Garden, that was kind of a no-brainer. It made sense to do that because she was selling 1,000 books a day. So if she purchased 100,000 books and had 100,000 books printed, at her current rate of sales, she's got a 90-day supply of books when she buys 100,000 units. Okay, so if you have the budget to buy in bulk, then buy in bulk. But more important than budget, you need to have a proven product. Okay, now I've got books that I sold 2, 3, 4, 5,000 copies of, but I don't have books in my inventory that I've sold 50,000 copies of. So it would not make sense if I went out and printed 50,000 copies of my book each time just to give people something special to hold in their hands. Then I would lose my ass really quick. I would be in bankruptcy court really quick. Even if I went through and purchased 10,000 copies to sell, I would probably lose my ass. I wouldn't be profitable as a publisher. Yet I've been profitable as a publisher for quite a number of years, okay? And uh, it's all relative, of course, how much we do in sales or whatever, but I do pretty well. But the thing of it is, if I invested for every book I printed and I invested or bought 10,000 copies, or even if I bought 5,000 copies for every book I published, I'd be in the poorhouse right now. I'd probably be working at McDonald's to pay the bills. Of course, I got a little bit more experience in just McDonald's. I was working decent jobs when I quit jobs and went to publishing full time. But that's not the point. The point is, I would have to have a job, and I don't like having a job. So I'm not going to make decisions that negatively impact my publishing business. And if I were to print 5,000 copies of my book just so I could get it into a hardback format, then I would lose my ass. I would definitely be not only in a poorhouse but under the shed, you know. And so you don't want to make that kind of commitment unless you know you can sell the product. And that's my main point here. So when it comes to like the spiral, we've got the training. It's called Legacy. You can the Legacy product on the Book a Day System website. If you get that Legacy book, we'll show you how to print, how to get published one at a time, a spiral-bound notebook or journal or coloring book or whatever it is you're looking to publish, and they will print them one at a time, and it's affordable. That's the main thing. It took us something like 90 days of just consistent pestering, trying to find a publisher that would allow us to publish print-on-demand spiral books at a reasonable cost. And so that's what we did. We were finally able to uncover that, and we teach you in the Legacy training that yes, you can do that, and how it is you need to go about that. So let me. I apologize real quick. I'm going to pull up and make sure I got that product name right, because I got so many products that I don't always remember. I'm getting old, you know. I'm 53 next month, in about 8 weeks, I guess. So sometimes my brain doesn't work quite as well as it should, which drives me nuts because I've always prided myself on my memory, and I'm having memory issues right now. So bear with me just a second here, and I will tell you exactly what we named that product. And so, gotta wait for that page to load. That's going to be nice. And that's something. There we go. So it's coming up. Bear with me. So anyway, the thing is, you don't want to invest in having even 100 copies of that book printed ahead of time. You want to wait, unless you've got a proven package, a proven product you know is going to sell. That's not a path you want to take. Darn it. I wish my thing would allow me to pause so I can look up some of this stuff when I do it. So I apologize for that, but I'm trying to get the information loaded up here. Looks like we rearranged the website, so it's not where I'm expecting to find it. Okay, so we actually called that product. I'm finally on the page. So this is Legacy Book Promotion, which is the training. Legacy Book Promotion is the training for how to do spiral notebooks and who to use when doing notebooks. But the reason I started this video, I'm driving at a very specific point. So with the spiral books, it is nice to have our books available in spiral format. But when you make that shift from perfect bound book to spiral book, what happens is you are changing your publishing model. Instead of relying with print on demand, we don't purchase it until we sell it. Okay, that's a primary premise. So with if we sell on Amazon, now here's the funny thing about Amazon. Amazon owns CreateSpace. So if you have a book listed on CreateSpace to be sold in print format or through the KDP paperback, either one, and then Amazon knows that they can print an unlimited number of copies of your book, they will show that you have an unlimited supply of product in stock on the Amazon website. Now, here's the funny thing. So if I turn around and I say I'm using Amazon merch to sell my product, if I'm doing fulfillment by Amazon, then my amount of stock is equal to the number of books that they have in their warehouse that they can sell. If you do fulfillment by merchant, you have one product in stock. Even if you might have 100 products in stock, they often treat that as you only have one product in stock because you got to sell this one and ship it. They're not going to allow you to sell more than one book until you ship the previous book. So that is a factor for a lot of merch sellers. Now, that's not always the case. There's some cases where that doesn't happen that way. But my point to the whole video, which is the reason for the BC comic, when we approach self-publishing, the bird in hand is CreateSpace. They will print as many copies of the book as we need, but they're going to do perfect bound book, and they're going to do 60-pound paper. And perfect bound is basically a softback paperback book. So they're going to do a paperback book for you, and they're going to use 60-pound paper, and that's your bird in hand. And you're not going to pay out of pocket until a book sells, and you're still not going to pay out of pocket. They're going to take their costs out of your sales price. So with a 100-page book or whatever, typical cost for printing that book's around $3 through CreateSpace, and then Amazon gets their take, and then you get the royalties. Your royalties are everything above CreateSpace cost and Amazon cost of selling. So everything beyond that is your book royalty, okay? So the bird in hand is CreateSpace is going to print that book for you, and you don't have to worry about having inventory, but you have to go with paperback book and 60-pound paper. If you want something different than that, that's two in a bush, okay? So two in a bush is it seems promising, but there's no guarantee that you're going to get that, okay? So if you want to do the spiral bound book, by all means do list a spiral bound book for sale, but understand that if you're listing off of Amazon, you don't have Amazon's customer base. If you're selling off of Etsy, you still have to do some advertising, make sure people find your books. If you're selling from your own website, you absolutely have to get people to come to your website. So there's more in the equation that you have to do. Publishing the book through CreateSpace, Amazon's going to do a lot of that stuff for you. They're going to build the web page to sell your book. They're going to host the reviews for that book. They're going to make a proper demonstration of your book to the audience. Then they're going to process the transaction. So they will handle the credit card information and make sure the money gets collected from the customer, and then they're going to take care of shipping that product to the customer on your behalf. Now, when you go to sell them from your own website, guess what? Now you have to do all that stuff that Amazon just did for you. Okay? So there's advantages to taking it to your own website, and because I know how to do that, because that's how I got into selling online, was selling from my own website. So I have a lot of experience that you're not going to have. So when I list from my own website, it's beneficial to me because I can make more profit, but I also get more of the work. So when I list it on my own website and sell it from my own website, I'm admitting and committing myself to do more of the work to make sure that customer gets that book. Okay? But if I go over to CreateSpace, they'll take care of 90% of that work for me, and I won't even. All I have to worry about is formatting the book and putting a book cover on it and describing the book to the customer and putting a price on it and uploading it to CreateSpace, and Amazon will do the rest for me. But from my own website, I'm in charge, okay? So that's what I wanted to communicate to you today. Yeah, you can make more money and you can probably sell to more people and you can reach. And it's not a matter of more people, because most people would be happy with the paperback version of your book. But if you want to do a spiral bound book, then you can sell your book for a little bit more money, because people appreciate the convenience of having a spiral bound book. Especially when they're doing something like a coloring book. Spiral bound is awesome, right? So they don't have to break down the binding of that book to lay it flat. It's naturally going to lay flat because there's spiral bounding there. It's spiral binding there. So, yes, there are advantages to using other kind of covers on your books. But you have to, when you agree to sell books in those other formats, you have to bring to the process more work on your part. And so you might be able to make more profit, but there's more involved on your side as far as getting that product to the customer. And so getting your own traffic is enough to put most people out of business. That's why we like working with Amazon, because they're going to get the traffic for us. We don't really have to concern ourselves with that. Once Amazon's customers start finding and buying our books, then we're pretty much gold. We don't have to worry about that anymore. So that's the main thing that I want to convey with you today is it's often, it would be nice to have that spiral bound book, and it would be nice to have that hardbound book, and it would be nice to have that heavier paper inside our book. But that bird in hand, the one who CreateSpace is going to do your book, no upfront cost to you whatsoever, no work on your part to actually deliver that book to the consumer. All that is covered by Amazon, so therefore you just sit back and collect checks. You upload the product and you collect the checks. Okay? That's your bird in hand. If you want this other more fancy stuff, that's two in a bush. Okay? So maybe that'll work out for you, maybe it won't. That's the whole concept behind the morals. You know what you got, and you can trade it for a maybe. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up right here, and thank you for tuning in today. I'm Bill Platt. Until next time, have a great day.